Hey there, business owners. Welcome into another episode of Small Business Saturdays, your space for real strategies, real talk, and real growth. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and I'm excited to share some strategies directly from one of our amazing business owners that I get to work with here today. And I think this one's pretty special. We're going to talk about something very foundational, something that truly impacts every part of our business, no matter your industry, no matter your experience level. We're talking today about relationships. Now, I am off teaching today a class, so I actually recorded this in advance for you guys to be able to have this Small Business Saturday episode. I got to interview a dear friend of mine and fellow Canfield Success Principles Trainer, Karen Pickering. Karen is the founder and publisher of the Northwest Horse Source magazine, and that's been her baby for well over 30 years. And she's one of the most relationship-centered leaders I have ever met. So if you guys are ready, let's dive in.
Dark days, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling sad, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight, our word is strong. The vision's so clear, building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group,
let's talk some business.
All right, Small Business Saturday rock stars. I'm excited to welcome a friend of mine, Karen Pickering, and introduce her to you. Karen has got the Northwest Horse Source magazine, and we're going to talk all about her story. She's had that for years, and I'm really excited to chat with Karen. So, Karen, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, and thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing about this. So, if you're new to Small Business Saturdays, we have kind of a three-part. We break it into three different parts. Our discussion, and it's all based on kind of the three parts of the fundamentals of business success. So we always start with the plant, kind of the mindset behind things. Where do the seeds start? Then we get into the prepare phase, where we're talking a little bit about, okay, what are our thoughts? How are we kind of creating a plan to move things forward? Where does that come from? And then the most important part of everything, the pollinate phase, where we're getting into action, where we're kind of saying, what's next? What are we doing? How are we going to make this idea become a reality? So for those that are, again, new to this, I wanted to give you that little tidbit there. But let me start in that plant section that I mentioned, Karen. Kind of what's the heart behind your business? And so I'd love to just hear your story, right? Where did the horse source come from, and being so intertwined with the horse industry?
So I guess it started because I love horses. I always have. I am excited about the horse industry, and it was working a job work with a customs broker that actually got me interested in computers and graphic design and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what got me started. And I was doing newsletters for the company I was working for. And I thought, why don't I turn this into something for horse people?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it started.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I love that. And so you took your passion of the horses, and you took the things that were in your life in front of you right there, and you said, let's make a business out of this. And is that kind of when Northwest Horse Source was born? What was that like at that point?
So I had a friend that I worked with at the customs brokerage that loved to edit. And so I would write a few little articles. I'd have other people donate articles and stuff like that, contribute. And I would go out and I'd sell advertising and on the weekends. And it started out as 1,000 copies, and 16 pages, and just a little black and white pamphlet is really all it was to start with, and it was a horse source is what it started as.
Okay. All right. Sure.
And, I would go out and I'd just interview people, and I just started having fun with it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So what do you think made you horse crazy, right? You said you just loved horses. Where did that stem from?
I think it was I think it's something that's inbred in people. It's who knows how it started. I mean, I
Yeah.
grew
Yeah.
up on horse stories like My Friend Flicka and Mr. Ed and,
Oh, nice.
all those kind of stories when I was a little girl, and my mom always wanted me to get involved with dolls. I didn't want dolls. I wanted horse models. So that's what I did is I played with horses.
I love it.
And, I don't know what causes you to be so interested in something, but it's just we all have unique interests and desires, and that just happened to be the
Yeah.
one thing in my life that I wanted to pursue.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
And I think it's just so cool that, that was the thing in your life as a child, as a little girl, and yet, you were, whether you were intentionally determined or not, you kind of made it your life's work. I
Mhm.
mean, what obviously it's not all been rainbows and ponies, so to speak, along the way. It probably took some determination. What kind of give us where that grit for you came from?
Well, I had to work. Having a job was essential when I first got started.
Sure.
Um, I had worked probably 12 years, for I'd worked probably 12 years in the brokerage industry, and so this kinda started at the end of that first part of my brokerage career, and I definitely, wanted to pursue it in the sense of I didn't wanna work for somebody else the rest of my life. I
Yeah.
wanted to have something on my own that I can control my time and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of exciting, but it was also I mean, the working in the wee hours of the morning to get things done. It was great when I was, 40, it wasn't so hard. It's a little harder now than it used to be.
Yeah, sure.
But,
Absolutely.
when you're passionate about something, you just keep going. You just keep
Yeah.
cranking it out.
Yeah. 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 And with that passion, with that heart for it, right? I think you can kind of overcome anything if you're willing to, like you said, keep cranking it out. And I think
Mhm,
that's the real key. I think a lot of folks maybe get that passion. They've got something they really love, even going back to,
mhm.
your childhood. I don't want to call it an obsession, but sounds like you were pretty
It
into,
was.
okay, we could call it an obsession. All right. Um, but obviously some other things have to happen along the way as well, right? Like, we've got to get some support. We've got to have, somebody to encourage us, a community of people that you connect with. Getting to know you over the last few years, gosh, it's been a number of years, but just I know how important the relationships in the community are for you. So maybe talk to us about that, especially from the early stages. What did that look like for you?
Well, I've always had horses, so I would go to events with my horse. I connect with people, and I discovered I really like being around horse people, and I wanted to learn as much as I could, and I wanted to, my desire, I guess, was to help people be successful with their horses.
Yeah.
And so I had gone to horsemanship college right out of high school, and
Oh, wow.
so wishing that I could have become a horse trainer, that was my plan, but it just financially, it wasn't feasible at that time, so that's
Yeah.
when the whole process of getting a job started, but
Yeah.
I grew this by going out to horse events, whether it was horse fairs, horse expos, horse shows, it all started out as local stuff at first, but I just really got ingrained in the community, and I learned a lot along the way just by interviewing trainers and interviewing veterinarians and that kind of thing. It got so exciting for me. And then I worked with people that were better at certain things than I was.
Yeah.
I can write, but I'm not an editor. So I would let my sister was my editor for a while, and I've had, over the years probably a handful of editors, and it just was good to work with people that had skills that I didn't. And, like right now, I've got an incredible graphic designer who he works full time, but he does this on the side. And it's, again, a project that there's about 5 of us that work on the project right now. And it's really evolved into something different. It's morphed into something over the years, but
Yeah.
the relationship part of this business is what I enjoyed the most. And
Yeah.
I've met more neat people and more neat horses and been all across the country and done some things that just wouldn't be possible if I'd worked a job my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Amazing. Amazing. And I love that you mentioned horses in that part of the conversation too. I have a deep love and respect for horses. I'm not quite the horse nut that you are, to where I have horse. I've had horses in my past, but every time I'm around a horse, I just feel like this, like, knowingness, like they get me wherever
mhm.
I'm at, and that like they can read my emotions almost, it feels like. So I appreciate that you put them into the category of part of your community.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And you also said a little bit earlier, talking about that, your mission was to help people in the horse space succeed, right? But I know that also comes with a lot of, you gotta love what you do. You've
Mhm.
gotta, be willing to go through the trials and tribulations. And I also, again, I know Karen, and so I know there's also a spirituality component to that. So kind of tie all those things together for me, like that desire to help people in the horse industry. How does that all fit together with that kind of bigger, broader love and the spirituality that you bring to the table?
Okay, that's kind of a tough question, but
It's a big one. I
uh,
know. I know.
it's a big one. It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
But I believe that God has given us all a gift and
Uh,
that we are to use those gifts that he's given us. And I feel like I have a lot of empathy and a lot of understanding for the horse people. And I just want to help. I want to help their businesses succeed. I want to help horse owners be successful with their horses. And so I guess teaching people how to use their God-given talent and recognize those talents
yeah.
is something that I really want to explore. And that's kind of when I got into the Canfield training
Yeah.
back in about 2017, I think, or 18, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I connected with you, is through
Yeah.
that process.
Yeah.
And I think teaching those kind of principles, once you learn that stuff, you want to share it with other people. And that's one of the things that is so incredibly important in this industry, and doing the things that we do
Yeah.
um, is just so it just excites me to be able to help other people. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where we're going with this, is
Absolutely.
how can I turn the business, and as the business morphs into something different,
Yeah.
how do we take that, package it, and learn to grow. I mean, at my age, I'm learning to grow and learn new things that I totally have never had anything to do with before. I mean,
Yeah.
learning video, learning all the new kind of
Yeah.
software things, and being online, being an online entity rather than being a print publication.
Yeah.
And I want to be a print publication, so it's really hard for me to change and want to change that, but I still want to help horse people, and I still want to
Yeah.
have people realize that it's about the people and the relationships that you build that are so important.
Yeah.
Um, and I
Incredible.
think that's one of the things that we've kind of, with social media, we've lost that a little bit, but it's connected us in a new way. So it's just a
Yeah.
new way of helping people.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're saying there is so uh, interesting to me, right? Because as you said, things are morphing, things are changing, things are, we have to learn new skills.
Hmm.
There's things that, kind of are in front of us that can be a challenge or a roadblock. But at the same time, in listening to you, the core mission's been the same for what, 31, 2
Over
years,
30 years. It's been
over
over
30
30
years.
years. Yeah.
I mean, that's
So,
amazing, right? I think as business owners, we can all understand that. Like when we understand what that core mission is, then it allows us to change in a changing world, and still, like you talked about, our God given gifts.
mhm.
If our businesses don't allow us to share our God-given gifts, this is just my own personal opinion, but I just don't see how you can ultimately be successful. So,
Hmm.
to all that to say, kind of leads you into kind of my final thought here, that I'd love to have you explore in this kind of plant mindset, why
Hmm.
this is important to us, is I know you've come to a place where you've realized that the relationships matter more than the number of followers, the reach, the revenue, even at a certain level, right? Like, we all need the
Hmm.
revenue to be able to continue to keep our businesses going. We all need the
Hmm.
reach to be able to bring more people in. But those are ultimately byproducts of what you've discovered, in your superpower are the relationships. So why is it that relationships can be more powerful than the reach or the revenue?
Well, I think you have to have a community of people around you to support you. And Aaron, that's one of the reasons I got involved with your organization and MOS and that kind of things
Hmm.
is I think we have to have people that we can go to, that we can express our concerns, our challenges, and have outside feedback
Yeah,
because I tend to have tunnel vision and I only see things a certain way. And
sure.
it's so helpful to have that group of people that will say, "Have you thought about this?"
Yeah,
Or "I understand what you're going through. I understand that kind of thing." And I think, modeling what you're doing is something that I think I'm going to be doing in the
yeah.
future with my community as a support because I think we're really fragmented as an industry right now.
Okay.
And you can find horse information all over the place. Doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate information.
Mm.
AI has added a whole new
Yeah,
perspective to this changing world that we're in.
yeah,
And so where do we go? I want to go to people I trust. I mean,
yeah,
I want to go to
yeah,
people that I know have my back. And sometimes when you're out there in the broader community, do you know you're getting good information? Do you know these people that you're conversing with on Facebook really care about you? Um, is it just a facade or is it real? And
yeah,
so I want to know the information that I'm getting is from somebody I trust.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's kind of what we want to create for our customer base.
yeah, yeah. And if you don't have that relationship, you can't have that knowledge, right? Like, I'm even
Mm-mm,
thinking about it for your, let's say you're somebody that's interested in being an advertiser with Karen, right? Like,
mm,
if you're coming to Karen going, how many eyeballs is this going to hit? Do you have viral content? Blah blah blah. Not that she
mm,
doesn't, but the
mm,
reality is, does that actually move the needle, right? How about the fact that Karen has got relationships with the people that she's built over these 30 plus years?
mhm,
And when you did a book review for us, for example, for the gratitude shift,
mhm,
I wasn't concerned about, do I get a million eyeballs on this? I got Karen saying she enjoyed this book and this was important. Like, people are going to listen to that, right? And to me, that's what the relationships are really based on, is that like you said, there's so much noise out there. There's so much fake news, false information, so to
mhm.
speak, not out of like a negative context, but just the reality of it, right? We're relying so much on AI. Nobody's stopping to actually check the information. And now it's just becoming truth, right? So, but if
Right.
I know that there's an actual human relationship behind that information, boy, that's a lot easier for me to say, yes, please, here's my credit card.
Well, yeah. And talking about your book, that really ties into everything that's important to me. And that is you do have to be grateful for the things that you have in your life. And then when you're grateful, it just opens up a whole new world for
Yeah,
you because, and then all the exercises that you put in that book. It was so incredible. And the stories that from other people, that's the kind of thing that I think helps us grow our businesses. And because I know you, I know that the information in that book is right on. And I just wanted to share that with my community
yeah,
because doesn't matter what industry you're in, gratitude is such a big part of success.
yeah. Love it.
And what can I find every day that I have to be grateful for?
Yeah,
So
amazing. Amazing. Well, can't tell you how much we appreciate you sharing that with your community. Hopefully, they find some value in that and whatnot.
Mhm.
But Karen, I want to shift gears here. I want to move into our next little phase here, what we would term the prepare phase. Kind of,
Mhm.
okay, let's get a strategy together because
Okay.
I know you've gone all in on the relationship building almost to a point where you're seeing it as a success strategy, I believe. And
Mhm.
it's from the outside looking in, that's what I see you doing. And I love every bit of that. But when we talk about that, right, relationship as a
Mhm.
strategy to, again, get the byproducts of the reach or the revenue, um, I had a mentor of mine one time tell me that you can't outgive the universe, right? And I
Mhm.
understood that to be I can't outgive God.
Mhm.
I know you're a fan of Zig Ziglar,
Mhm.
as am I. Um,
Yep.
and he talks a lot about, give before you get. So maybe explain that to our listeners here. What does that really truly mean to us?
Well, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said something to the effect of, "You need to help enough. If you want to get what you want, you've got to help enough other people get what they want."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so by helping other people and not having that, "What am I going to get out of this deal?" But the mindset of, "How can I help them succeed?" And not worrying about, "What am I going to get out of it?" Yeah, we all got to make money and we all got to make a living. But I think that if we help other people solve their problems, that we're going to succeed in business and in life in general.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my philosophy, of working with other people is I
Yeah.
want to see how I can help them. I want to be a good listener. I want to teach people to take, 100% responsibility. I love that whole idea of, taking responsibility for where we are at in life. I got nobody else to blame but myself for any situation that I'm in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of what where it has to start.
Yeah. I love it.
Mm.
Wow. And as you mentioned before, you and I connected through our working with the success principles and our kind of passion for that, right? For
Mhm.
sharing that with other people. Like you said, that's what you're interested in doing. And so I love that you share the 100% responsibility, right? And if we take that 100% responsibility and we take that and say, okay, how does that relate to my business relationships? You know, for those that aren't familiar, Jack Canfield in the Success Principle has a formula that he kind of uses to explain 100% responsibility, which is E plus R equals O. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
let you explain that, and then see if you could do me a favor and do your best to tie that into our business relationships.
So the event plus our response to that event equals the outcome.
Yep.
So, by how we react to things and how we handle things is going to reflect on what our outcome is going to be. If we are reactive instead of listening and trying to understand, our outcome is going to be very, very different. But we're responsible for that outcome because of the way we respond to the event or what's happened.
Yeah.
And so, how I would tie that into what I do, um, any of the challenges that I've had in business is a direct result of how I responded to that event, if you will.
Yeah.
And the outcome that I have right now is, as a result of how I've responded to things or reacted to things.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. But and I think the part that, at least gets me excited, gets me out of bed is understanding that once we've accepted that, right? That
mm,
now we can respond differently and
hmm,
just change our outcomes. I mean,
yep,
like it's not going to happen overnight, but we can certainly make our response change pretty quickly and then let those new responses build up to the outcome that we're looking for. And I think that goes with what you were saying about relationships, right? Like, okay, if you need to generate more relationships, you can't sit there and wait for people to come to you. You've got to get out there,
exactly.
right? You went out to an expo not too long ago,
Yep.
got out there, talked to people. I know
Hmm.
you're reaching out to people all the time. Nobody wants to get on the phone anymore, but you keep trying
Hmm.
and getting people to come. So um, I I think that's huge, to understand how to build more relationships is to also understand that concept of 100% responsibility. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, and I think we're getting so barraged with information coming at us in so many ways. Talking about I can't get people on the phone anymore. It's just about impossible unless somebody has a real issue they want to talk about. I can't get them on the phone anymore. Email is about the only way. And outbound marketing, it's inbound marketing is where things are really at now. It's getting people to come to you. Outbound marketing was what I've always done my entire life with advertising. Is it's all about putting it out there and
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing. And now how do I get this is the challenge I'm having now is how do I get people to respond to me, to answer my emails, to want to have a conversation on the phone. We're all so busy. We've got just way too much um, constant, you got Facebook going all the time. You've got a million emails you look at every morning. How do I get somebody's attention? And that's been my challenge now. And being afraid of getting online and doing video when I really don't, I'm not a video person. I haven't taken video classes, if you will, and
I haven't either, by the way,
understanding
just
that.
FYI.
But it's about getting the information and having the relationships, I think, out
Yeah.
there that
Yeah.
it's going to be, if people want to listen to you, they will.
Yeah. All right. Oh, so good. This is such good stuff, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing this with our audience here at Small Business Saturdays. All right. So I also want to get your kind of take on this. I think one of the things I see with a lot of small business owners, regardless of their industry, is they think they need to be all things to everyone, and that ends up biting them in the tushy, so to speak. um, Talk to us a little bit about that, right? Like, I'm sure in your 30 plus years of working with people, you've had a couple of high maintenance clients, we'll call them. Maybe somebody was a little out of alignment with what you're all about. How do you deal with those folks?
Well, I've come to realize I can't be all things to all people. You've got in the horse industry, there's very tight knit groups. And
Yeah.
so my desire was to be all breed, all discipline. So I would appeal to everybody, so to speak, but you really can't do that. So you can't appeal to everybody. Your cutters and reiners are going to have their own publications and their own contacts
Yeah.
and so I decided I would focus more on the recreational rider and the everyday horse person.
Sure.
And it's been a real learning curve, and it's taken me a long time. I guess I'm a slow learner. It's taken me a while to figure some of this stuff out.
Yeah.
But I think you have to have a niche. I think that's
Yeah.
how we succeed, is having that niche that we can relate to and talk to. And as it's changed, I mean, when I was in my 40s, I had a very different group of people I spoke to than now that I'm in my 60s. I'm connecting more with the people that are in their retirement years, having more issues with technology and wishing there was print again.
Yeah.
But, understanding that our world has really changed and that we consume information in a very different fashion. And so, that's my challenge. How do I get it out to the community that I have?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you're doing the things. I mean, I've seen your video on YouTube. Actually, that's what kind of prompted this whole thing was, let's talk about this, right? And so you're trying things to see where you get people connected. And, I think the other interesting part here is you've also been very focused, since I've known you, and I'm sure well before, you're always talking about how you're bringing other people's stories to life through your community, right? And at first glance, people might go, well, why are you so focused on everybody else's stories? But I've seen you build credibility through that process. So when we talk about relationships, why, again, maybe back to the overall idea from Zig Ziglar there, but how does that all tie together?
Well, I think that we have to. I don't know about you. The way I operate is when I want to go to a business and see if I want to work with them, I want to see an about us page. I want to know the people that I'm going to be working with.
Yep.
I want to have a virtual handshake, if you will, and, be able to connect with them because, oh, they're going to be right on. I'm going to be able to work with them because I love their values. And
Yeah.
so seeing their mission statement and their value statement, if you will,
Yeah.
on their website is very engaging. I think it
Yeah.
excites me.
I agree.
And, to me, there's a lot of websites out there and a lot of information out there today that doesn't tell a story. And I want to tell your story. I want to share with other horse people what got this trainer interested in the business. Why is he still doing it? Long hours for little pay sometimes. Veterinarians, the same thing. Everybody thinks veterinarians are rich. Hey, they're not. They have a lot of long hours.
Yeah.
And, even though it seems like they get paid a lot of money, they don't get to keep all that. They've got a lot of expenses. And so it's understanding what other people are going through. And I think through that process, we learn to appreciate in ourselves how we can help others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so telling what it's all about.
That's
So,
awesome. I love it. And I love that you make yourself available as that medium to tell those stories. I'm doing some work
mm,
with a company right now, and our big focus is how do we better tell our story and make sure that we're kind of on brand and being able to have, unfortunately, we don't have a relationship based community right now. So we're trying to build our own. Right. And so with the
mhm,
horse community, you've got that community. Show up and let Karen tell your story. So anyhow, I just find it
mm.
funny that people miss the opportunity much. So that's why I'm excited to talk to you more about this. Okay, one last thing here in prepare. I'm shifting gears. In your YouTube video about relationships that you shared, great video by the way. You
Thank
give us a little, maybe you kind of told the story there, but maybe give us a taste or tell the story of the courtroom lunch. I'll kind of
you.
leave it at that. So I'll let you tell
Yeah.
the story.
Well, that was a really good example of something that started out as a very unpleasant transaction. I had a client that he was a pole building company and he wanted to advertise his pole building business, and we had magazine distribution in his area, but not the quantity that he wanted to see. He wanted to see us in every feed store
Yeah.
in Snohomish County, and so I wasn't in every part of Snohomish County, but I was in a good portion of his what you would consider his area
Yeah.
of interest. And so he just flat didn't agree with me. And I said, I'm not paying. He says, I'm not paying my bill. He says, I'm not getting the response I want. And I think it's because you're not distributed in this area. And so we set a court date. And my sister and I, she was my editor at the time, we drove down to Snohomish, which is about an hour and a half away from where I lived, in a blinding snowstorm because you have to go to the county of the person that, the you're
Yeah.
having the disagreement with. And they didn't go into we didn't go into court. We went into mediation, and through it we both got to share our side of the story, and long and short of it, we both compromised. So he paid part of the bill, and I agreed that I would try to get more magazines in his region if he continued to advertise. And so at the end of it, we were laughing about it. We were joking about everything we've been doing, and he ended up taking us to lunch.
Wow.
And I continued to have a business relationship with him after that fact. And, you never know what the outcomes are going to be sometimes, but if you trust the system and trust people, I think,
Yeah.
and because I love having those kind of relationships where we can talk, we're still, it's been years since I've talked to him, but he was a good client for many, many years. And other than when situations changed for him and he, no longer was doing that particular business, that's when it kind of the whole relationship ended. But it left on a good note,
Yeah.
and those are the kind of things that I enjoyed. Those kind of things happening at the end of it all.
Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah.
of went great the way it turned
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And I think that really speaks to who you are, right? Like you were interested in the relationship. So you were willing to make concessions to work together to find a kind of a happy place that you guys could both work from and
Hmm.
then be able to continue that relationship. And so I think that again speaks a lot about who you are, but why relationships are also so important for us, that
Hmm.
it can solve conflict. So thank you for sharing that story.
Hmm.
All right. Well, Karen, let's get into the action phase here. Let's get into the pollinate phase. So what do we do with all this information, right? And it's kind of about growth, and
Hmm.
I think it's about community. We've talked a lot about that already. And then I think, from my perspective, and this is maybe just the way I operate, but I think we've got to be more intentional. Um, and so let's start there. Let's start with this idea of intention. Because yeah, we could go dance on TikTok. I love to make jokes about dancing on TikTok, because that's the last thing that I need to do. But
Yeah.
whatever that is, right? We can go throw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall, see what's going to matter. I know, like I said, you recently were at an expo. I'm actually leaving here. Well, while this is actually playing, so Karen and I are recording this. While this is playing, I will be at an expo shaking hands and talking to people face to face. And I'm super
Hmm.
excited about that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that intentionality around, understanding who you are, what matters, why things like expos still matter, that type of thing.
So I think expos still matter, and unfortunately, they're we're losing a lot of these kind of events because of the cost. And everybody has figured out that if they go online, that's the way that things are going to work out for everybody, and that's where your community is and that kind of thing. I do believe that you have to go where your community is at.
Okay.
And the thing I enjoy about horse expos and horse shows and that kind of thing is I can get out, I can actually talk to people. I can I can see their expressions. Rather than just typing or on Facebook, I think we kind of tend to put on a facade of maybe who we are or are not.
Yeah.
And life isn't perfect and life is messy, and I think that we have to quit worrying about the perfect video or the perfect
Yeah.
presentation. We have to be real. We have to be authentic. And that's where I'm going right now. And I don't know if most people feel this way. I don't like being on video. I don't like seeing my pictures. I like listening to other people, but I always came from the belief that you had to be a real pretty face and you had to have, just the right dress, and everything had to be perfect. Your background had to be perfect. And it's like, I think at the end of the day, people want to hear what you have to say, how it will help them and how it will resonate with them. And like my own self, I have to quit worrying about perfection. I have to quit worrying that I'm not the best video editor, and my videos may not be professional, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
However, it's about the fact that I really care about you as a person, and I really care about your business. I care about it if you're successful and safe with your horse and that kind of thing, rather than I don't have Aaron's amazing talent for creating these wonderful backgrounds and things that he has. And and just live with the fact that let's just do it. It's if you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. You have to do something, and just take that first step and get out there and do it. And I have to realize people are not reading magazines anymore. They are not opening a print publication and reading magazines.
Yeah.
So how am I going to get to these people? I've got to do video presentations. I've got to take all the years of video that I've done over the years
Yeah.
and start creating some helpful um, trainings, if you will, on advertising, on interviewing other trainers on how do you work with your horse, interviewing veterinarians, what's the best horse care, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And because we're a trusted resource, because we've had that reputation over the number of years, the hope is that people will come to us because we are a trusted resource, and it is about branding. And
Yep.
so, and that's what I'm trying to teach other people is to be out there, be present, and use the tools, and access the tools that can help you be more successful. And that's
Yeah.
my goal.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. Well, and the other thing that you and I've talked about a little bit, Karen, through the stuff that we've talked about kind of off air, so to speak, not
Hmm.
out here in public here, is kind of this notion of a, a hub, a trusted resource versus, right, like, could we be on every social media platform? Absolutely, right. And I'm,
Hmm.
you know, I'm somebody that is on a lot of different platforms, but
Hmm.
I've really realized that when I focus in on what I've become the best at, like, a little secret for everybody here, I am like Karen. I very much don't like watching myself on video, even though I've been doing this for almost 14 years now. um, like, if I need to go back and rewatch just to kind of learn or see what I can do to improve, I don't normally watch the video. I just listen. And even then, I listen and I pick out all of the ums and ahs and,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so you're not alone in that. But what I'm saying to people is, though, but we have to understand what our zone of greatness is. And sometimes we build into that, right? Because for you, Karen, your zone of greatness, to me, at least outside looking in, seems to be that, again, the relationship side of it. So when you're talking to somebody, when you're in a setting like this where you and I are communicating, I feel like you're in that zone of greatness. When you're trying to create some crafted, perfect video, might not be it, right? Same thing for me. I don't edit a
Yeah.
whole lot of the stuff that I do because it's, when I do, it's not great. So I guess talk to us a little bit about that, what you've learned about this idea of spreading ourselves a little too thin, trying to do everything versus really focusing in on what your hub is, what your zone of greatness is.
Well, there's so many options now. I mean, in the past, we didn't have a lot of options, so it was a lot easier to focus on one particular. I think I get caught up in, oh, I got to try this. I have the squirrel syndrome. Okay, shiny objects or whatever. And oh, well, maybe I'll try this, or somebody, an email comes across that will solve a problem, and I immediately am thinking I have that problem. They could help me, and you get into it and it's not necessarily what you want to do, and so here you've spent 45 minutes or an hour or 2 hours working on something that was sidetracking you off your mission. And so it's staying focused and finding, stick with something until you find out if it works. And that's probably the biggest lesson that I've tried to teach people in advertising is don't throw it out there in a million different places, or don't just try it one time. You're not going to
Mm,
know by trying something one time
yeah.
if it's going to work. You need to try to be consistent and then understanding the medium. Is the medium that you're using going to cause the phone to ring all the time, or is it a medium to brand you and to get you familiar? And it's kind of like people say, well, my ad didn't work. And it's like, okay, you're a plumber, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody's going to call you until they got a leak.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're not there when they have the leak, then you're not going to get the business. And so you have to be out there and you have to be, I think, trying something, but I think focusing in on something and giving it 6 months or a year instead of, just, I'll try it one time. If it doesn't work, I'll move on to something else. And so you're not, things don't work because you're not giving it enough time.
I love it. Wow. What
So,
good advice. What good advice for folks to take and utilize regardless of what your business is. Okay. So I want to kind of start tying this up here a little bit. Um, I know you're a lifelong learner, and I
mhm.
also, you also talked to us about the role of gratitude and working together in relationships and whatnot. But talk to us a little bit about that. Like, a, do those things tie together? Being a lifelong learner and gratitude, hope, and teamwork. Personally, think they do, but I'd love to hear your take on that. So let's start there.
Well, I think, for example, I've had a team that I've worked with for probably it's been over 10 years. I've worked with most of these people. My web guy I've worked with for 20 plus years. And I think these relationships are important because number one, we appreciate each other,
Yeah.
even when money is tight, because nobody's made big money in my business.
Yeah.
Okay. And from me per se, it's been a labor of love, and people contribute because they want to help. They want to contribute. They want to help other people learn about horse care, horse training, that kind of thing. But it's also been helpful for them because it's given them credibility. Anytime that you're published, it gives you credibility. And
Yeah.
so that's how I've been able to give back to the people that have contributed is I've given them a place to become a known entity.
Yep.
They're recognized now. And I just totally lost my train of thought. Get me back on track here, Aaron.
No, you were talking about, yeah, how it gives them an opportunity to be a known entity, and so it's about that connection, I think, is what I was hearing, at least.
Yeah, yeah. But more than anything, I think that the relationships I've built over the years have been long term.
Nice.
And again, that's what you're looking for when you start working with anybody is this going to be something that's going to work out? And usually within, the first few weeks or months that you work with somebody, is this going to work out or is we're not a good fit? Because not every business is a good fit for me. Not every business is a good fit for any number of reasons.
Sure.
And I choose to work with people that I resonate with, that are kind of on the same wavelength, if you will.
Yeah.
And are interested in helping other people, interested in learning. I am a lifelong learner. I have always said that the older I get, the less I know. I knew everything when I was 20. And I realize how much I don't know now and how much
Amen.
there is to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, Karen, last question for you. I know we've talked about, world's changing all the time. But one thing that I really, tons of things I really respect about you, but one of the things I really respect about you that stands out is that you, through all the change, stay true to your values, right? Like from the moment I met you when we were talking about Canfield stuff, I think that's probably what attracted me the most is like, this person is going to stay true to their values, their belief system, even though you're a lifelong learner, right? So talk about that a little bit. Like, how are you managing to embrace change, but yet still stay true to your values as you kind of look ahead to growing your business?
Well, part of it is I've had to back up and really examine what's happening because business in the last 4 years has really slowed down. And so it's like, okay, what am I going to do to um, keep going in the business that I love? What steps am I going to have to take? And, some things are hard to take. Having to go back and get a job after this many years was very difficult for me to make that decision. But through that decision, and again, that's kind of humiliating a little bit. It's like,
Sure.
Okay, does that make me mean I'm a failure? And I don't think so. I think it
No.
means that I have had to adjust,
Yep.
and I've had to do what it takes, and I'm behind the curveball on learning a little bit, and so I'm having to step back, do what I need to do to keep food on the table, so to speak.
Yep.
But realize that where I've been placed is an opportunity, and it puts me back in kind of an environment where I'm around a lot of people because doing what I've done for the last 30 years, 90% of the time I'm sitting in a home office. And so it's got me back out around people, and I'm learning what people are needing and wanting and what their concerns are
Yeah.
because of where I'm working at right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of a learning experience for me, and it's giving me new purpose and new determination to get back to, all right, now what can I do in today's world?
Yeah.
And how people are consuming information and consuming products and services. How can I now help them in my business? And how can I change my business to help people do that?
Oh, love it. Gave me goosebumps there. All right. Well, Karen, this has been fantastic. I so appreciate you spending some time with me here. Where can people go to learn more about you and the Horse Source, and maybe also share with us some of the services that you're offering to the horse loving communities, just so people are aware of what you do?
You bet. So I have 3 websites I'm working with right now, nwhorsesource.com.
Okay.
And that is where people in the Northwest, and that we're talking everything from Montana west,
Yep.
I can help people in that community grow because that's where I've spent the most of my time in the last 30 years.
Okay.
That's from telling your story, advertising your business. Finding horses for sale now is something new that we're doing on horsesource.org.
Okay.
We just started that module. So if you're looking for a horse to buy or sell,
Nice.
it's a directory that is not full of advertising. It's full of connections to people where you can find your horse trainers and your hoof care specialists and your veterinarians, and also find a horse for sale.
Love it.
Real estate. Colorado Horse Source was fairly new in the last few years,
Awesome.
but that's another place where you can find about things happening in Colorado's horse community. And that's one of the steps I'm doing. And the last thing I'm working on right now is a program called Still in the Saddle,
Yeah.
where I'm helping people grow into their senior years. How can they still enjoy their horses, and how can they still, enjoy life as we get older? And
Nice.
so that's kind of my passion right now. And
Nice.
life principles, just what I've learned.
Love it.
I
Love
want
it.
to share with others.
Cool. So, Still in the Saddle, where can people find that?
That's through Northwest Horse Source.
Okay. So just go through the website there. Okay.
Yeah. And also we have a Facebook page, so you
Nice.
can find us on there. So,
Okay. All right.
and recently a YouTube channel.
Love it. I love it. Okay. So you're, and I know you're doing some video. So is that a lot about kind of Still in the Saddle, or just kind of across the board stuff that some of those videos that you're putting out right now?
So some of the videos for Still in the Saddle are more to do with just life lessons.
Yeah. Yeah.
The videos on relationship building and that kind of stuff is more going to be for Northwest Horse Source, horse
Got it.
ownership type stuff. So it's going
Got
to
it.
help horse owners, and it's going to be directed toward horse businesses where I
All
can
right.
help them excel.
All right. Perfect. All right. So you guys, if you know anybody that's in the horse world at all, make sure you connect them to Karen. All right, Karen. Well, thank you so much for your time here today. This has been amazing.
Thank you, Aaron, so much for having me on your program. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you.
What if you could finally turn your ideas into a clear, doable plan? Whether you're just starting out or trying to get unstuck, clarity changes everything. The Business by Design program gives you the tools to take control of your direction, pricing, marketing, and time, all without the overwhelm. It starts with a 2-day masterclass to clarify your vision and structure. Then, if you're ready to build your plan live, join our implementation workshop where we write it together step by step. This isn't about writing some fancy plan that never gets used or something to turn into a bank. It's about building a path that fits your life and your goals and personal style so you can walk away with something you will actually use. Join the masterclass at oursuccessgroup.com/business plan, and let's build your plan together. All right, everybody, there you go. I hope you found that as special and rewarding as I did. I took away a ton of things from that conversation. So I want to hear what you guys took away from the conversation. Let us know in the comments what some of your major takeaways were, what stood out, what did it mean to you, all of that stuff. And for me, the truth that I heard is that the best strategy in the world won't help if the relationships that you build are on shaky ground, right? Whether that's with your clients, your partners, your team members, even competitors. I think strong, healthy relationships are the soil of your business growth. So today I want to challenge you guys to take one relationship in your business and strengthen it. However that looks for you is perfectly fine, right? Reach out. Maybe it's a messenger, maybe it's a text, but actually get in touch with somebody, say thank you, offer help, share your appreciation, be the kind of business owner that you want to work with too, right? So a lot of times the things that are going on, we're like, I wish this would happen. And you go, maybe I need to do that more too, right? It's an inside job. So the more depth that we have in our relationships, the stronger they're going to be. And yes, social media can definitely be a starting point, but how can you take that and go deeper with them? As Karen talked about, building those relationships are our responsibility, and it starts by showing up, not by sitting back and waiting. So here's another practical thing that you guys can do right now today. The Entrepreneur Success Hub, which is a Facebook group that you can find at osg.link/group. It's a wonderful, safe space to build relationships, to practice finding the type of people that you want in your corner. We just wrapped up a month-long gratitude challenge, and I'm really excited to see what Becky does next. She was the one that brought us that gratitude challenge. So I've heard that there's some good things coming there. But why don't you start something in the group yourself? Ask somebody else to come and participate and say, hey, fellow business owner, I'd love to build a better relationship with you. Here's a really cool community that we can do that in. Right. Or maybe you want to reach out to me and ask me questions. Let's get engaged in deeper conversations. Let's practice together building those relationships. I truly believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. So I am very curious who we will see interacting in the group after this. Now, if you are ready to go even more deep and intentional into building a business that you love, I do want to invite you to join the Business by Design, which is the business planning masterclass and workshop. And for you SBS listeners, if you use the code SBS, you'll get the masterclass for free and get a very deep discount off of the workshop. So head over to oursuccessgroup.com/business plan. And the Business by Design program is a simple, powerful 3-part experience that helps you design a business that you actually want with a clear mission, the right foundation, and a practical plan for you to grow with. So I want to thank Karen very much for her time, and thanks for being such an incredible example of just grace, grit, and generosity in your business, a great way to build those relationships. And I also want to thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week, as we will be 3 days removed from the business planning masterclass. So we're going to actually talk about what to do with your plan now that you have it started, now that you've got that foundation starting to build. Great. But again, as you probably heard us talk about in other SBS episodes, it's not meant to be thrown into a desk drawer or just filed away and never touched again, right? It's more than just taking action as well, though. We want to get to productive action. That productive action is fundamental number 10 from the book here, if you're following along at home. That's what we got for you this week. Have an amazing week, and we will talk to you next week live back in person. Thanks for being here.